Yo, all right. Today we're making one of hands down my favorite meals, fried polenta with a tomato leek sauce on top. I really dig on polenta because it's pretty easy to make. Fried polenta, you can make a lot of it ahead of time, which is great. And if you decide to skip the frying, you end up with a creamy bowl of polenta, I don't know. I mean, if you know what polenta is, you're golden. But if you don't, it's somewhat like a savory porridge. Polenta is, for those who don't know, just crushed corn. So it's gluten-free, which is great. I like to use, I use Bob's Red Mill for a lot of stuff, but you can get polenta pretty easily. I've seen in the stores you can buy pre-made polenta in a tube. I've never quite seen the point of it. The dry polenta is cheap and super easy to cook. We're going to run through how to make a really delicious tomatoey sauce, but we're going to start by getting the polenta on the stove. We'll whack this around. I've cheated a little bit. Oh man, you're getting all the chins. I've cheated a little bit by doing some stuff ahead of time, just so you don't have to watch me do everything on camera, chop garlic and what have you. But the basic recipe you start with for the polenta is 3-to-1 ratio. You bring some water to boil with some salt in a pan. Whack your polenta in there. Give it a whisk. It likes to get a little lumpy. And you just let that cook for a little bit. Boom. Once that's cooked, you put it in something to set up for a couple hours. You can cook it in the morning. You can cook it the day before. Easy stuff. I'm going to try something new today. Once it's cooked, I'm going to try to put it in this muffin pan, make individual little polenta cakes. And then later on today for dinner time, I'm going to fry that up. So our sauce, pretty easy, more or less a basic tomato sauce, but for whatever reason, I am in the habit of making this leek-based tomato sauce. I like the way the leeks taste when they're cooked up in the tomato sauce. It gives you a nice texture. And then because the polenta ends up kind of creamy, I've always really enjoyed a fairly sort of salty sauce to go on top. And you can balance that out with a little bit of grated cheese. I like to use the Violife Parmesan cheese. It's pretty good. Or a bit of a green of some sort, arugula, which I don't have right now, but you make do with what you have. Arugula is a great addition to a tomato sauce. The sort of spicy, earthy flavor of it gives you a really nice counterbalance. But yeah, the leeks, for whatever reason, leeks in my tomato sauce for polenta is my signature. This is a great one. I hope that chopping isn't too much. Like I said, I tried to do a lot of stuff ahead of time because I love you guys, such as you are out there. I've got a can of tomatoes here, but because I love you, I blended it up already, so you don't have to listen to that. But you do have to listen to me chopping. Shouldn't take too long, and we'll have every. Kevin, what are you doing? Fucking Kevin. And we'll have a sauce going here. Tomato sauce is one of those things that, I haven't bought a jar of pasta sauce in years. It's just too easy to make a really delicious tomato sauce using canned tomatoes. Most of the time I just buy, for about $2, you get a can of the whole peeled tomatoes. I was at Costco the other day and I decided to splurge a little bit on, they call these San Marzano tomatoes. They don't anywhere on here have the official seal, so these are not authentic San Marzano tomatoes, but I don't know, they're probably still delicious. You can't go too wrong with a well-cooked can of tomatoes. The trick to cooking tomatoes I've talked about before. depending what you're going for, how long you cook them. You know, if you use fresh tomatoes in something, you end up with a less concentrated tomato flavor, not quite the same, you know, real strong hit of that tart, acidic tomato flavor, but still delicious. You know, fresh tomatoes, hard to go wrong with for a lot of things. But canned tomatoes will get you that real strong tomato flavor, kind of concentrated acidity. And the longer you cook them, you end up with some of the sweetness that comes through as the sugars start to caramelize down and really concentrate that tomatoey flavor. So we're starting here, just a bunch of leeks in the pan. I'll whack this around so you can take a look. Boom. Leeks in the pan. And then, as with most things when we're cooking, a little bit of salt in there. I've talked previously about how some things you don't want to salt when you're cooking. Beans, apparently, I'm no food scientist. Apparently the salt makes the skin of the beans harder when you're cooking them. I'm seeing myself on camera and I realized, my kids put hair chalk in my hair this morning. I don't know if it's still there. They also brushed it, so my hair is going to be however the kids want it to look right now, plus the effects of rain and a baby pulling on it, what have you. Anyway, fresh cracked pepper. Fresh cracked pepper in there with some olive oil. Some, a lot, you know, go nuts. Pepper's hard to beat. God forbid we make anything that's under-seasoned, you know what I mean? And then we'll give our polenta a stir as we go. Oh, should have been stirring that. That's getting a little thick. That's what we're after though. And that polenta, to my mind, is maybe a little thick. I don't know, it's probably cooked though. Boom. So 3-to-1, I did 2 cups of polenta, which I think will make enough. We'll see how it goes in these muffin tins. If I need, I can do a little more muffins. Leeks cooking down. Bam. I've got some garlic that I smushed up. Like I said, try not to do too many things on camera. I've got the garlic in there. I've got some olives, which I'm gonna chop up and whack in. Leeks cooking in the pan. And then I'm a huge fan of adding a little bit of butter. I use this Miyoko's vegan butter. I think it's fantastic. A little bit of butter in a tomato sauce just adds that richness, a little bit more of that sort of creamy flavor. Cooking's really about, I mean, again, I don't love recipes, so my videos tend to be less recipes and a lot more me just making shit and talking about it. I hope that's helpful. I don't know if it is. I mean, it's certainly not been popular yet, but you know, we're just waiting. There's an untapped audience of people who like looking at a confused and poorly kempt man swearing at dogs, holding a baby, cooking in a messy kitchen, and explaining how to do it very poorly. I'm sure there is. You're out there, I know. But anyway, cooking's really about that balance. So the leeks, or if you're using onions as you cook them, they release a lot of sweetness. So then you got some sweetness in there, a little bit of salt to help them cook, obviously pepper for flavor, but we start with that balance of sweetness. The tomatoes are going to add the acidity to it, a little bit of salt. That balance of flavors is what we're after. And then when you put that on top of polenta, either a creamy bowl of polenta, or if you fry it, you got the creamy inside plus a crispy shell. I'm gonna fry it later today and I'll, whack a little video on at the end or a picture at the end, obviously. That balance is what you're going for. So it's sort of a bit of everything as you go. You don't want it to be all one flavor. You want a bit of a surprise here, a bit of a surprise there. Olives, add that, again, that salty bite to your sauce, which adds some complexity. That's what you're going for. I don't know. I find when you go to cook, if you just follow recipes, all you'll ever learn is how to follow recipes. And you look for a recipe and think, okay, I'll buy just the ingredients they have and I'll make that. I think it makes more sense when you cook to sort of think about what you want it to taste like at the end and how you can achieve that with the ingredients you have. Stay creative. I mean, cooking is at best a creative process. I don't know, perhaps I'm being a little pompous. When I say it's in some ways a bit of an art. It's an everyday art. It's a folk art, I guess, at that. When you think about all around the world, every day people need to eat. There's a necessity to it. There's cultural traditions involved. There's the way your life affects how much time you have and so on. I like to cook a lot of stuff ahead of time because it frees up time in my day to do the other stuff that I like to do. A lot of which would be spending time with my kids. Today's Friday. Fridays I have my psychiatry appointment in the morning. I had my psych appointment this morning. I was talking to my doctor and I was talking precisely about this, how cooking ahead of time's nice because that way in the evenings, once I've picked the kids up and run them around to all their different activities, rather than just having to be in the kitchen and cooking, I've got a lot of dinner made and I can sort of throw those things together, and I bought myself that extra free time to sit down on the couch and read to them, or get on the floor and play horsey, which is one of my kids' biggest things these days, or even just have some time to do something for myself, which I lack. Parenting is tough. This is one of my constant refrains. Parenting's a lot of work. It's hard. It takes it out of you. So even if you just buy yourself a little time to have nothing else to do and to do with that time what you want, and maybe it's, like I say, hanging out with your kids and reading them a book. Maybe it's sitting on the couch by yourself and reading a book. It's good to buy yourself that extra time when you can. So these leeks are cooking down pretty nicely. Bam. Let's have a look at them. Whoop. Getting all the chins every time. So, the leeks, you could cook them for a long time, but leeks cook up a lot quicker than onions do, so you don't need to worry too much about it. So we'll call those leeks pretty good. Bam. Like I said, I've got the garlic here that, out of appreciation for my audience, I already chopped up, or skinned, and you're going to get some background noise. Skinned and smushed up in the mortar and pestle before I started filming this, just out of love for you guys. Ooh, that smells good. You don't want to cook your garlic too long. Again, you cook garlic too long, it's going to get bitter. But again, thinking about what you can do with the ingredients you have on hand. I almost always have polenta in the cupboard. It's just one of those things that I buy a lot. So it's there. I try to have just tons of garlic around. Sometimes I buy too much garlic and you go, what do you do with it? At the end of the day, if you need to, you make you some roast garlic and keep it in the fridge for the next thing you're cooking that would benefit from roasted garlic. Cans of tomatoes, like I said, canned tomatoes are great. It lets you have tomatoes year round, rather than just, if you're trying to buy stuff in season. Obviously, if you're growing your own tomatoes, you can can them. I'm hoping to have the backyard veggie garden going at some point later this year, but we ain't there yet. But, canned tomatoes are great. You can use them for tomato soup, I think. You can make tomato soup with fresh tomatoes, but the canned tomatoes, the concentration of that flavor is what you're really after. And then even canned tomatoes, which are obviously already heat treated, if you cook them for a while, that flavor really deepens up. So I'm gonna say that's pretty good on the leek and garlic. Whack our tomatoes in there. No point in wasting the tomatoey goodness in the blender, so we'll just put that in there as well. Boom. Look at that. Okay, well, you can't look at it yet. I'll get you over here. Hang on, team. So we've got, boom, garlic, leek, tomatoes, salt, pepper, a little bit of olive oil, obviously. Not much more than that. And we're just going to let that, turn the heat down to kind of lowish, and you're going to let that simmer for as long as you want. You know, you let it go for half an hour, you're golden. If you've got the time, let it go for an hour. It'll really deepen up. That red color will get really a much darker red, kind of virgin on brown if you let it go. Polenta's pretty thick here, but I think we can make it work. Boom. I'm going to snack on those olives, I reckon. And then, no need to stand on ceremony with this, but you want to, whatever you're putting your polenta in, give it a good oil so it'll come out at the end. I have, like I said, never tried this in the muffin tin, but I think it'll work. No reason why it wouldn't. Whoop, whoop. I've previously just used, you know, a baking dish, something like that. Anything that you can get the polenta in where it'll set up. If you do it in a baking dish to have it set up, 1 second, I need a spoon. Bam. If you do it in a baking dish, you know, you tip it out when it's done, and I like to slice it into triangles. I don't know, triangles are just my preferred shape for polenta. But I thought this would be kind of a fun thing to try with the muffin tin. I'm almost certainly going to need 2 muffin tins because you don't want it too thick. The goal is, whatever you're doing it in, I don't know, 3 centimeters and about 1 inch thick. And then let it set up in the fridge for a few hours, and it'll set up nice and firm. See the trick? Set up nice and firm, and then you can fry it. Sorry, finish my thoughts. Oof. My psych asked me today how the Ritlin's working, and I told him, you know, pretty good, but I don't know. I can finish a task. I don't know that I can finish a thought. I think one problem I might have with these little muffins is that ideally they'd be smooth on top, and I don't know how smooth I'm going to get them. Let's try something. Oh, I think my garlicky spoon will work. We're going to whack a little olive oil on our spoon so it doesn't stick. Smooth out the top of these, and that way when we fry it, we won't have little bits sticking off getting overcooked while the rest of it's not. Getting there. Like I said, get a little olive oil on top so it doesn't stick. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, that's pretty good. I'm definitely going to have to do another one of these muffin tins, but I don't think I'll make you guys watch that. So there we go. Boom. Get him smoothed out. Look at that. Okay. We got little polenta muffs. Smoosh, smoosh. They're not all the same size. None of them are perfect, and I'm okay with it. Take a look at this. So, you know, I struggle to get everything on camera, but there you go. Little polenta muffs in there. Not looking too bad. We're going to whack that in the fridge, but for now we'll just get it off camera. Oh man. See, I told myself that all those groceries sitting out on the counter would be okay because they'd be on the other side of the camera, but I guess not, you know. Anywho, we're going to toss the olives in there. Boom. Now, if I had fresh basil, I'd be off to the races. I actually technically do. I've got a little indoor herb garden with some grow lights on. I think I need better grow lights. I'll see. I might try to poach a bit off there. But we've got our lovely tomato sauce simmering away. Like I said, I'll put the rest of that polenta in some other muffin tins. Let it chill up. It is not yet lunchtime. I've got polenta made, ready to fry. I've got my sauce made, ready to top. We'll let it simmer for a bit and turn it off. So after I pick up the kids from school, run them around to their activities, we'll come home later today and I'll have pretty much everything ready to go to cook up. When it's time to cook, I like to use, I'll do it now just so you guys can see. Oh, and you'll see this on camera. I like to use the big cast iron Dutch oven. You know, a couple of enough oil to cover is what you're going for. Olive oil and sauce, when you're frying, obviously you want to use a higher heat oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, something like that. Enough oil to cover. Get these little corn muffs fried up on both sides. They'll end up golden brown on the outside, still creamy on the inside. Plate that up, scoop a sauce on top. Like I said, if you've got it, arugula, if you've got fresh basil you want to slice up, top it with that. You could do a little side salad. I don't know if I've got lettuce in the fridge, but we'll try. And then, bam, you're good to go. The other thing about polenta that I really like, if you're having people over, I don't know, it's easy to make, but it can come out just looking beautiful, and you can serve it as an appetizer, a little finger food type appetizer. You can serve it as a main course, which I'm doing tonight for the family. Really easy to make, pretty quick to make ahead of time. Just did it all on camera, but for the noisy stuff. And then you've got a just delicious sort of, I think, fancy, but also, rustic in a sense, house-warming, home-warming, heart-warming, delicious meal. Impress your friends, impress your family. I'm gonna hope the kids will eat it. They might not, but I know I will. I know my wife will. It'll taste fantastic. And that's it. That's all I got. All right, well, I'll show a video of the sauce once it's done simmering, and I'll, like I said, tack on that video somewhere in there. Polenta with a tomato leek sauce, easy as pie, off to the races. Oh yeah, I'd eat that.